Enzymes, the culinary spark of life. Another important principle in the Tao of diet is to select foods that are fresh rather than stale, living rather than dead, and, as far as practically possible, to consume them either raw or lightly cooked. The best working definition of live food was made by Dr. McCollum of Johns Hopkins University over 50 years ago. Quote, "Eat nothing unless it will spoil or rot, but eat it before it does," unquote. Refined white flour, for example, will not spoil, while freshly ground whole grains will. Indeed, rats fed on diets of refined white flour soon die of starvation. In America, food wholesalers are now adopting the heinous practice of extending the shelf life of fresh produce by radiating it with powerful doses of gamma rays. Bugs and bacteria will not attack an apple or head of cabbage that has been radiated because such food is not fit for consumption. But the food industry knows that humans will eat almost anything due to ignorance of basic nutrition. The distinguishing feature between live and dead food is the presence of active enzymes in the fresh produce. Taoist physicians refer to this active living factor in foods as qi and enzyme qi, constituents by far the most vital element for health in our food. Western science knows perfectly well that enzymes are fragile compounds that are easily destroyed by exposure to high heat, excess moisture, oxygen, radiation, and synthetic chemicals, all of which occur during cooking, canning, refining, preserving, and pasteurizing food. All enzymes are effectively killed at temperatures exceeding 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is far below the boiling point of water, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and less than pasteurization, which is 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Traditional East Asian diets are rich in two types of enzyme activating foods: fresh raw foods such as fruits and vegetables, and in the case of Japan, raw fish, and foods prepared for consumption by treatment with aspergillus plant enzymes, which provide all the enzymes required for the digestion of proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. Aspergillus plants, which have been used to prepare foods for centuries in Asia, are exceedingly rich in vital enzymes and are used to prepare such nutritious and therapeutically active foods as tofu or bean curd, yuba, bean curd skin, nado, fermented soy sprouts, miso, fermented porridge or fermented porridge of barley, rice, or soybean, and other traditional foods. By adding active aspergillus enzymes to cooked grains and beans, the enzymes destroyed in the cooking process are replaced, and the food is consumed without further cooking. Every bite of tofu, nadu, or miso provides the body with potent infusions of enzymes, the vital culinary spark of life. The term natural food has become a much abused label on commercial food products these days, appearing on everything from pasteurized yogurt to sweet starchy candy bars. For our purposes, we define a food as quote unquote natural only if all the natural enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and other vital nutritional factors are still intact, which eliminates almost everything labeled as quote unquote natural in modern markets. On the other hand, there are plenty of good natural foods to be found in any supermarket without being specifically labeled so, such as raw fruits and vegetables, raw meat and fish, molasses, and unbleached, unroasted nuts and seeds. Even certain dehydrated foods, such as prunes, raisins, and dates, retain their vital enzymes in dormant state if they are sun-dried rather than sulfur preserved. And these enzymes are activated by the warmth and moisture of the mouth and stomach. A careful look at how enzymes act reveals why they are so important for proper digestion, efficient metabolism, and overall physical health. Enzymes are biochemical catalysts secreted by the pancreas and other glands and organs. Some are used for digestion, others enter the bloodstream to scavenge for dangerous microbes, dead and damaged cells, and toxins. In the stomach, there are about 5 million microscopic glands which secrete various enzymes required for digestion, such as pepsin. All enzymes are specific in their actions, fitting the biochemical reactions for which they are designed as precisely as a key fits a lock. When incompatible enzymes are secreted together, owing to conflicting signals sent by incompatible food combinations, their actions are impaired or neutralized. But enzymes are far more than mere catalysts in the conventional chemical sense of the word. One of America's leading authorities on enzymes, Dr. Edward Howell, supported by over 50 years of clinical experience in the field, wrote in a 1979 issue of Health View newsletter, quote, "Catalysts are only inert substances. They possess none of the life energy we find in enzymes. For instance, enzymes give off a kind of radiation when they work. This is not true of catalysts." Unquote. Asked about Dr. Howell's observations on enzymes, a Taoist physician in Taipei replied, quote, "That's qi at work right there. Qi manifests itself in the world as a sort of radiation that is invisible to the ordinary eye, but can clearly be seen by advanced adepts who have cultivated this ability. Qi can also be detected and measured by sophisticated technology. The radiation you speak of in these enzymes is their qi being released as they work in your system." Here we see a remarkable conformity between the views of an enlightened Western physician and a traditional Taoist practitioner. Since quote unquote civilized diets consist almost entirely of cooked, processed, artificially refined foods, they are completely devoid of their original enzymes. Consequently, the body must produce the enzymes it requires to digest the huge quantities of stale, dead foods modern man consumes every day. Most of these enzymes must be provided by the pancreas, an organ so overworked and swollen in the human species today that humans now have the largest pancreases relative to body weight of any species on Earth. In proportion to body weight, notes Dr. Howell, the human pancreas is more than twice as heavy as that of a cow. One's capacity for enzyme production is limited. When it gets to the point that you cannot make certain enzymes anymore, then your life ends, writes Dr. Howell in his book Enzyme Nutrition. This accords well with the Taoist tenet that when your body can no longer produce semen, hormones, and other forms of jing or vital essence, which includes enzymes, then you die. Enzymes contain a spark of qi, and therefore it requires the input of qi to produce them. Every organism's store of living qi is limited. The faster one uses it up, the sooner one's life ends. Diets of denatured, overcooked foods puts tremendous demands on the body's enzyme capacity, and Dr. Howell believes that this unnecessary, unnatural, and unabated depletion of the body's enzyme capacity is, quote, "one of the paramount causes of premature aging and early death," unquote, and the underlying cause of almost all degenerative diseases. In order to service the mass of enzymeless food in the stomach, other parts of the body, such as the brain, muscles, joints, and nerves, are chronically deprived of the vital enzymes they require to function normally, and all sorts of ailments occur. For example, fossil evidence indicates that Neanderthal man, who ate mostly the charred carcasses of dead animals roasted over fires in his cave, suffered crippling arthritis 50,000 years ago. But Eskimos, who traditionally ate a diet that consisted almost entirely of raw meat, raw fat, and raw fish, had never been known to suffer arthritis. heart disease, or any other chronic ailment until they started eating the packaged processed foods introduced to them by their quote unquote civilized brethren from America. The Eskimos were the only tribe in all of North and South America that never developed the tradition of a tribal medicine man because they virtually never got sick. Indeed, the word Eskimo comes from an old Indian term which means he who eats it raw, and therein lies the secret to their former health and longevity. Enzymeless diets aggravate the very core of our body's vital essence network, which is the endocrine system. According to Dr. Howell's findings, quote, evidence indicates that cooked, enzyme-free diets contributed to a pathological overenlargement of the pituitary gland, which regulates the other glands. Furthermore, there is research showing that almost 100% of people over 50 dying from accidental causes were found to have deficient pituitary glands. Unquote. Diets cooked diets of cooked enzyme dead foods tend to make you fat regardless of how carefully you count calories. American farmers discovered long ago that hogs will simply not fatten when fed raw potatoes, but that a diet of cooked potatoes will make them very fat very fast. Active enzymes in raw foods permit food to digest so efficiently in the stomach that not only are the gastric ills of putrefaction and fermentation avoided, but the calories are also burned so efficiently by the body that fat does not accumulate. Indeed, much of the fat on obese bodies is not adipose tissue, but bulky accumulations of mucus and toxic waste bulging out through the intestinal walls, jowls, lymph nodes, and other parts of the body where such wastes are stored. Raw calories and cooked calories are as different as fresh air and polluted air. From my work, entitled by Dr. Howell, quote, I found that it was impossible to get people fat on raw foods regardless of the caloric intake, unquote. Since Western scientists are so fond of testing their theories on rats and then applying the results to humans, let's take a look at how rats fare on cooked food. When two groups of rats are fed respectively on exclusive diets of raw and cooked foods, the raw food group lives an average lifespan of 3 years, while the cooked food group rarely makes it beyond the age of 2. In human terms, that would mean an extra 20 to 30 years of life. Dr. Pottinger's cat experiments with raw and pasteurized milk provided precisely the same results. Think about the next time you opt for a hamburger and fries instead of a fresh fruit or vegetable salad. When not busy digesting enzymeless foods in the stomach, the body's enzymes roam through the bloodstream and protect the entire system from all sorts of disease and toxic damage. This is one of the great benefits of fasting. The body's entire enzyme capacity devotes itself to cleaning house, digesting and eliminating dead and damaged tissues and putrefied proteins, and helping in the construction of new cells. Obviously, if you live on a daily diet consuming or consisting of denatured enzymeless foods, your entire enzyme capacity is constantly preoccupied with digestive duties, thereby permitting all sorts of putrid wastes and damaged cells to accumulate in other tissues to the point of severe toxemia. It is a well-known fact that cancerous tumors almost always develop in tissues that are severely toxified, such as smokers' lungs, drinkers' liver, and gluttons' colons. In order to compensate your system for the enzyme drain caused by cooked foods, especially cooked animal products, Dr. Howell recommends taking 1 to 3 capsules of enzyme supplements with all big meals, unless the meal consists entirely of raw foods. A small side salad does not provide sufficient enzyme activity to digest a steak. Enzyme supplements should be swallowed at the beginning of the meal so that they dissolve in the stomach by the time food arrives. Dr. Howell recommends plant derived enzymes over pancreatic enzymes derived from animal sources because, quote, plant enzymes can work in the acidity of the stomach, whereas pancreatic enzymes work best in the alkalinity of the small intestine. By the time food reaches the small intestine, much of the digestive work has already been done in the stomach, and therefore it's best to use enzyme supplements that activate in the stomach. Though raw foods are by far the best and greatest source of active enzymes, there are certain ways of lightly cooking foods that do not entirely decimate their natural enzyme factors. The three main conditions that kill enzymes during cooking are intense heat, extreme dryness, and long cooking time. Thus, the Western world's favorite cooking methods, baking and roasting, are the worst enzyme offenders known. The solution to this problem is typically Taoist. Balance the excess yang of heat and dryness with the soothing yin element of water. That means applying fire to heat water, then applying the hot water to cook the food, such as steaming and poaching, but not boiling. When you steam or poach food, temperatures never exceed 212 degrees. Compare with the 350 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures generated in an oven, and even higher temperatures of charcoal or gas grilling. Steaming and poaching cut down the time required for cooking, and while both steam and hot water do indeed kill enzymes on exposed surfaces of food, the moisture seals and preserves many of the enzymes deep inside, where intense surface temperatures do not reach. Poaching and steaming also permit cooking without the extra addition of oils, fats, bastes, or batters, which only impede digestion and add unwanted dead calories to food. The other cooking method that preserves a portion of enzymes in food is the traditional Chinese stir fry. While temperatures are very high, cooking times are very brief, usually 30 seconds to 1 minute, which does not cause the evaporation of all vital juices and seals enzymes inside meat and vegetables. As long as stir fried vegetables are crispy, it indicates that their internal cellular structure is still intact, with enzymes locked inside. If meats are still rare or bloody inside, they too retain some of their natural enzyme factors. Even fast foods need not offend the rules of trophology and enzyme nutrition. For example, you do not necessarily need bread to make a quote unquote sandwich. Throughout Southeast Asia, people use fresh, crispy lettuce leaves to wrap all sorts of delicious ingredients, many of them raw, to make wholesome, delicious meals that can easily be taken on the run. The lettuce combines favorably with everything and provides both active enzymes and fibrous bulk. In Japan, pressed sheets of dried seaweed, or nori, are used in a similar manner to wrap all sorts of different ingredients, including poached asparagus, raw lettuce and cabbage, raw fish, bean sprouts, minced onions, tomatoes, ground raw beef, avocado, and other wholesome enzyme rich foods that are both nutritious and delicious. Called hand rolls, tamaki, they not only digest much better in the stomach and provide far more nutrition than hamburgers, submarine sandwiches, fish witches, and other culinary abominations, they also taste much better in the mouth. Try it, you will love it.